And I thought I was getting trolled. They said to use toilet paper.
Well, that kind of sucks. I have some bad news for you all. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We have another good one today, getting back on the Jeep. I have so many miscellaneous things that I need to run through on this thing. So many odd jobs and half-done projects that I really need to wrap up, but I was waiting on parts and stuff. The braking system still needs that braking cylinder change. The parking brake stuff needs to get finished up. But a bunch of parts actually came in, so we're gonna be knocking out all those to-dos today and going down the list and crushing them. Have started to make a little bit of a to-do list just because we're getting close to actually firing this thing up again, and there's a lot of little details I just don't want to forget. I've had a lot of comments on my little dangling brake line here, so I actually bought a bracket to secure it to this right here. I'm hoping this flex line is long enough to reach down. If it's not, I'll definitely get a new one on order. I did want to shout out a huge thanks to all of you for commenting all your helpful comments. I've gotten a ton of pro tips, a ton of comments from all of you all watching these videos and either catching me and kind of giving me some advice on some stuff or telling me specific things to look for. I really appreciate it. I'm very new to all this, so it's been awesome digging in and finding some other things that I got to take care of. Now let's take a look at the transfer case right here. This thing is so gunky, so nasty. I've been putting it off forever, but I think we finally need to start cleaning this baby up, get her ready, and see what is under this monster. Okay, can everyone see that? That looks like some JB Weld. That is not a good sign. What else are we gonna find? Well, that kind of sucks. I have some bad news for you all. This transfer case has cracks all over it. I didn't think it'd have all these cracks. The transmission's in such good shape, but got a big crack right here. I was looking up here. We got some more cracks, just kind of hairline cracks running up here. So I'm not sure what we can do about this. If we can get it welded, since it's cast aluminum, comment down below if you've had any cracks and stuff like this. Can you get it welded up, or should I just go buy a new transfer case? I do know these things get really, really stressed. All the gears kind of pull it apart when you have really big tires. So I'm assuming that's kind of what happened with this guy. You're the experts. Let me know in the comments what all I have for options with this puppy. I may have to get a new one. So first things first over here, let's get some of this drum brake hardware out. I have the other side I can match to, which is really awesome. And then some of the parking brake stuff needs to actually go in back here. That way the parking brake works yet again. So I'm gonna go ahead and tear this apart and see what we can get to. I went ahead and took some of the drum brake assembly off, and I noticed that this brake cylinder is actually only pushing out on this side. This side is not pushing out at all, which leads me to believe this thing is frozen up just like that other side. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap it out for now. That way we know we're good to go. I actually found out some other bad news. I ordered the wrong parking brake bracket. I don't know what this thing's supposed to be called. I actually ordered one of each side just to make sure I had the right one, because they're like 10 bucks. But the other one was lost in shipping. So fun for me, this is not gonna work over here. So I gotta order the right one, but at least we can get the brake cylinder swapped out, get the brakes bled, and get that much done. Well, that was kind of a bust overall. I swapped the wheel cylinder to this side and then realized they are kind of dependent, the ports in specific spots. So I have to install this one. This is a passenger side one. So I got to flip it over to that side. I need to order a new wheel cylinder for the other side as well. So I'm just gonna wait to assemble some of this stuff back together until I get some more brake parts. Well, this brake line over here was being stubborn. So in the spirit of fresh brake lines throughout the whole Jeep, we're gonna go ahead and run some fresh brake lines from here to each side. Then we'll be prepped and ready when we get our new wheel cylinder. So I got the rear brake stuff apart. Actually came apart pretty easy here. All new hardware here. It is gonna be dynamite to get all that cleaned up. But then I was thinking it would be a shame to have all new fresh brake lines and hardware on this old axle that really needs to be repainted. So I think I'm just gonna kind of go off on a whim here, unhook everything, see how I can wrestle this rear end out of the Jeep, and then maybe we can start sanding and pour 15 that bad boy. I still have plenty of pour 15 left, so we gotta use it up. Well, these suckers were nasty to get out. I actually had to pull out the big boy to get these nuts off the bolts, but got them all off. Now we can do the other side, and then hopefully this rear end will just drop right out. Got it. Just got this out. These bolts were crazy on there. The whole socket was just heating up from the friction, but thankfully got it out. So now we're gonna get this thing up somewhere where it's somewhat easy to access. Then we're gonna start scrubbing this thing clean. So we're gonna go ahead and start cleaning this up, see what's under all this mess. Hopefully we don't have any big damage. I do see some scrapes and whatnot where this rear end probably ran over some rocks and stuff, but doesn't look terrible. Let's go ahead and get it cleaned up, and then we'll take a closer look and see where we're at. This baby cleaned up really good. Like everything else, super greasy, super nasty, but I went ahead, dug in, got it really, really clean. I gotta hit it with some wax and grease remover just to take off any grease. That way the Pour 15 sticks really, really well. But before I do that, I do wanna prep some of these brackets up here. Obviously, I wanna make sure these are cleaned up and painted as well. And then I know I'm gonna take a lot of heat for this because I was Googling around online and apparently it just flakes off and kind of makes a mess. But I'm probably gonna clean these up really quick just so I can hit them with some fresh paint. Yes, it's gonna flake off. Yes, it's gonna look terrible. I'll probably end up changing these out in the future, but for right now, I just wanna make sure everything's kind of uniform in color because I think these are the last nasty part of the Jeep. So it'll be good to get these painted up as best we can. Let's see how it turns out. All right, the first coat of Pour 15 is complete. It's looking pretty good, but I probably want to get 2 or 3 coats before I call it done. I got all the little pieces up here, all painted up, and then I even gave the leaf springs a little coat. As I said, since these things flex so much, they'll probably all flake off, but oh well, it'll be okay. It'll look good for a little bit, right? So I'm gonna let this dry for a few hours, and we're gonna get on some of the other miscellaneous tasks I have to do for the Jeep. I did this off camera, but I ended up welding up this nut under here because this mount was spinning when the bolt was tightened from underneath. So now that it's welded up, I'm gonna hit it with some paint, and then underneath here, I can torque down this bolt where it needs to be. Let's get onto the reverse indicator switch on here, get that baby switched out, get the stick painted up all nice and pretty, because that's gonna be going in the Jeep. And then I really wanna make some big progress forward. So just to feel that wonderful feeling of completion, I'm gonna hang the flywheel, get that installed back in the Jeep, maybe even the clutch and the bell housing. Let's see what we got. Let's get at it. While that sucker dries, let's go ahead and take a look at the flywheel. This is our next plan of attack. This is where the flywheel gets attached. As you can see, I got my new oil pan seal in here. That was really nice. So we're gonna get our flywheel mocked up here. I did read online that the bolt holes and stuff only line up in one direction, so that works out well. It'll be perfectly mounted. I also know I need to use some thread locker on the bolts that go in because apparently they work themselves out. So that is definitely good to know. Thank you to the commenter that suggested that. Let's get the flywheel mocked up and maybe get our bolts and stuff in it. This is our old boy right here. So heavy. Oh my goodness, these things are heavy. Look at that. So pretty. Oh. This thing is beastly. It actually took me a while to find a flywheel that would fit the AMC motor. So the first thing I want to do is get this new one mocked up next to the old one just to make sure they're generally just the same size and look the same. All right, let's get this baby threaded into position. Oh my goodness, 110 foot-pounds is so much. I had this bar kind of jammed up here between these two bolts. That way the engine wouldn't turn when I was torquing these down, but holy smokes, 110 foot-pounds done. Let's go ahead and see if we can get the clutch installed. Man, I have to do some cleaning. It's like hot lava over here. So we have a funny situation. This is a pilot bearing. If you see this inner kind of golden sleeve here, this needs to come out. And I looked up online the best way to remove it, and I thought I was getting trolled. They said to use toilet paper, all wet, in the back there, and that it pushes the sleeve out from the back. Seems a little ridiculous, but I'm gonna give it a try. Well, it's been shooting me in the face with water, but I'm gonna keep at it and I'm gonna see if the sucker comes out. I guess it was not a troll because that actually worked. Now I gotta clean up this nasty mess. Alrighty, I just used this to pound in the pilot bushing here. We are good to go. Now I'm gonna do a good clean on this flywheel, make sure it's all nice and shiny, and then we'll work on getting our clutch mocked up. The clutch is installed. Check that out. So nice, all new. I am pumped to finally be installing parts back into the Jeep. All right, it is the next day here, and I want to show you how all the paint dried on the rear end and the transmission. All right, here's the transmission tunnel, all painted. As you can see, it turned out so good. Really uniform. This paint, I don't know if it self-levels or what, but it comes out so good. I used trim black. I'll put the little Amazon picture up here so you can go check it out. Definitely worked really well. Hopefully it holds up in the sun and just being in the Jeep and being roughed up and used. I do want to take a little peek at this clutch and flywheel. I am so pumped to get this all installed, to get it all lined up. As I mentioned, this is the first time I'm putting parts back on the Jeep, and this went really well. Really wasn't bad. And the next thing we got to do is the bell housing, transmission. I think we're closer to getting this thing started up for the first time than I initially thought. And obviously these leaf springs back here turned out really well. As I mentioned, I'm sure the paint's just gonna flake off, but for right now, it looks so nice and so clean. Definitely happy with how that turned out. And then finally the rear end, it turned out really well. Obviously sanding would go a long way. I am planning on sanding a little bit of this and throwing another coat on before the next video just to kind of make sure it's dried and ready to be reinstalled on the underside of the Jeep. But honestly, overall, I can't complain. It looks a million times better. I'm super happy with it. I ended up ordering all the brake hardware and everything I need to finish this out for the next video, so I'm super pumped to get that done. Just seeing it sit here and getting that clutch installed makes me so excited to get this thing fired up for the first time. I'm so pumped to drive this thing to the DMV and get it registered. I'm gonna make a whole video out of that, just the adventure to the DMV. Hopefully it doesn't break down, kind of my first impressions on getting this thing on the road. So consider hitting that subscribe button to catch all that in a future video. It does mean a lot. But that about wraps up this video. Thank you all for coming with on this journey, getting that rear end torn out and painted. I appreciate it. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you in the next one.